I'm Kristy Aasheim, a top producing agent in North Dakota, and this show is all about learning from the best. Top producers, brokerage owners, and industry experts who have faced the challenges, put in the work, and climbed to greatness. Whether you're looking to sharpen your skills, gain new strategies, or even get inspired by the journeys of top agents, you're in the right place. Let's get started. I'm Kristy Aasheim, and this is the Inner Circle podcast. Today, I'm joined with Scott Spelker, who leads the Spelker Team at Coldwell Banker in Madison, New Jersey. Consistently ranked among the top-performing real estate teams in his office, a lifelong Madison resident, Scott is deeply involved in his community. He served as a former board member for the Madison Historical Society and as a town historian. Before launching his real estate career in 2015, Scott worked on Wall Street in foreign exchange, bringing a strong background in finance to his work in real estate. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you.
First off, Scott, let's talk a little bit about you. Who is Scott? For the listeners meeting you for the first time, who are you in real estate, outside of real estate, and how did you get your start in business?
You sure this isn't going to put your listeners to sleep if I give them my list?
No, we want to hear your story. I love hearing about how you got into real estate.
It's not that impressive, and don't wait for the movie to come out because it's never coming. All right, you just want to know a little bit about me? I grew up in Madison. I went to Dickinson College where I met my wife, we've been together for 44 years since we were 18. That's probably the biggest news here.
Yeah, that's a feat. That's good.
We worked together and haven't killed each other yet. So right out of school, I went to Wall Street, and I was a Wall Street trader for, 25 years. I was a foreign exchange trader, which means probably nothing to anybody, but basically I was paid by banks and investment banks to make large bets with their money and basically trying to figure out which way the currency was going to go, whether the euro, the yen, the sterling, Australian dollar, Canadian dollar. You made bets with their money, and if you did well, you got paid well. If you didn't do well, you got fired. So it was very much a pressure cooker, I would say. So I did it for 25 years, and then I left on my own volition. I just really didn't want to do it anymore. And I went back to school at night. This time I studied to become a teacher. So I went to the College of St. Elizabeth. It was an alternate route program. My younger brother had done it, and he's now a superintendent of schools. So he was successful in the transition. I couldn't get a job. So I did student teach. Yes, I failed miserably. No, I went through the program. I was fine. And I was like the poster boy. I was like, there's got to be somebody better than me for this. Of just somebody that's working in a career that's transitioning to a different profession. So I student taught at Whippany Park High School. And by all accounts, I wasn't horrible. I had second semester seniors, which may have been scarier than trading on Wall Street. Trying to keep second semesters seniors interested and having them at least making it appear that you know what you're talking about.
Oh,
after not being able to get a job for a couple of years, I did some long-term subbing, and that really was my dream, was to teach U.S. history, world history, economics, personal finance to preferably high school kids. I failed at it in the sense that I couldn't get a job. Nobody would take a chance on me. A lot of people suggested I go into real estate, which was really not high on my list. And I decided, what the heck? I spent a couple of years of doing not a whole lot of nothing with not a lot of purpose. And that was a pretty low point in my life. So I would say that in some respects, real estate has saved my life because it gave me purpose. And I really like what I do now. I've been doing it for, I guess it's about 10 or 11 years. It's been a really good job. You have to be somebody that likes to help people. I've coached in Madison. I didn't mention that aspect of my life. I coached athletics in Madison, baseball and football for a combined 35 years. I only coached my own sons, the three boys. I've only coached them a combined, I think, 3 years. So most of the time that I committed to coaching was for other people's kids. And that kind of translates in real estate. You have to be a coach. You're a coach for your sellers, or you're a coach for your buyers. So that came naturally to me. And you have to be the type of person that wants to help other people, because that really is the nature of this job, is helping other people. And my wife is fantastic at that. She's just better than me in pretty much everything that we do together as a team. But you have to be somebody that's really just wants to help other people. And for me, the big kicker for me in this job, I didn't figure it out for a couple of years, but it's providing value. That's really what drives me. Obviously, getting somebody a big number for their house is big, but providing value to the seller in other ways, whether it's inspection issues, providing value to buyers. I want them to come out of the other side of the transaction saying, I have a higher opinion of real estate agents because I work with the Spelker real estate team. That's important to me, because Part of my reservation about going into the profession was, and there are statistics and studies that have proved it, real estate agents are really not high on the list of professions that people respect and trust. So that's part of the reason why I had reservations going into the field. But I'd like to think, for having been in this profession now for 10 or 11 years, that quite a few people that we've worked with certainly have a different feeling for real estate agents and what they provide and the value they provide.
Oh, absolutely. It is so important to provide value to each and every client and to know everything that you're supposed to know. I learn something new every day. So if I can't provide something to my clients, I shouldn't be in this business. I should know, how do I get these repairs done? Who do I call to get these repairs? What are these items that are coming up on the inspection? I should know these things, right? And that's what you're providing. You're providing so much more so that when they ask you a question, you can answer it and we can move forward through the process quickly and easily.
I felt an additional pressure. My previous career, I would say you get to a point where after 25 years, you weren't learning many new things. And I wanted to learn new things. That's just the type of person I am. By changing careers, that kind of lit a fire under me. But it also was a necessity because I was competing against, primarily, most of the agents, at least in this area, were women. And I don't have the networks that a lot of them have. And quite frankly, in some aspects, they're just better at this job than I am in terms of just interrelations with the clients. And that's a big part of the reason why Amy came on board with me. Yes, I wanted to learn new things, but I also felt it was imperative for me to have any chance of breaking into this business. I felt that I had to offer more and I had to be more knowledgeable. Now, I knew that the financial side of it, the negotiations, the data-driven stuff was going to come easily to me. But when it came to 3D walkthroughs that nobody was doing, and all of a sudden COVID hits, and I'm like one of the only people that even knows what this is. So you can go through a house without having to go into the house. And all of a sudden that was important. And I did it. Virtual staging. You had a house that, maybe was empty, or you had a house that was just cluttered. I could virtually stage it to make it look like the transitional furniture. And again, my wife was an interior designer for 10 years, so I kind of know some of the terminology, but I could make this place really look special. I could paint the kitchen cabinets. I could paint the walls without ever lifting a paintbrush. So I was doing a lot of different cutting edge things. And the companies that I was working with, I was always calling them like, what do you got? What's next? What's the next great thing that you have going? And they were like, we love you because not only are you're always looking for the latest stuff, you're always willing to pay for it. And I think that was part of it is just because I'm a curious person, and part of it was out of necessity. To be able to compete, I felt like I had to offer more and I had to be, in some respects, I don't want to use the word better, but just different. And then the areas that I felt that I lacked a little bit, you get a Wall Street trader, everything is bang. You're basically measured each hour, each day, each week. And so I needed to have a little bit more patience. I had to be better, I had to be a better person. I really did to be a
You
better
have to
person.
calm
I had
down
to
and
be a
take
better
your
person. And
time.
that was tough for me. It was tough for me. I really had to, I just relied on myself for 25 years. Now there were other people counting on me in ways that I had to have patience, and I guess empathy is the right word.
Mhm.
So I did. I became much better at that. But I said, for me, it's a little bit more of a struggle, and I'm never going to be a 10 out of 10. So I get my wife on board. As I like to joke, I've been in Madison almost my entire life. I joke that everybody knows me, but everybody likes Amy. It's just a subtle difference. It's like, unlike Scott, I'm an acquired taste. But my wife is just so much better at that aspect of just dealing with the clients and walking them through in a more, just a better way. She's just better with people. So that's where we complement each other. I was doing pretty well on my own, but when Amy came in, it took our business 4x. It was just that much better. And if you look at the Zillow reviews, you got to go back a few pages to find anything about me. It's all positive reviews about Amy and how wonderful she is. But it is true. I think we make a good team. I think that's what I'm trying to say.
Hey, teams can be really great, and I know a lot of husband and wife teams, and you complement each other on what your strengths are, and you each do your thing, and it's amazing. Teams can work really well in the real estate industry because it is a lot of work. I know a lot of people are misconstrued and think we don't do very much, but it is a lot, and it's very stressful, and there's a lot of things we deal with, including everybody's emotions on top of it. So it's nice when you have that extra teammate to take some of that load off of you for sure.
Absolutely. And listen, I hope I don't bite myself in the you know what, but I don't think AI is going to replace real estate agents because maybe they're going to replace the stuff that I do, but there's a lot that goes into it that people don't realize. Sometimes the people haven't sold a house in 25 years, or they haven't bought a house in 25 years. So they realize when they get reacquainted with this whole process that there is a lot that goes into it.
Oh,
There
yeah.
is a lot of handholding. There's a lot of guidance. There's just a lot of moving parts. If it was so easy to do it yourself, you would see more for sale by owners for sure. Look, in the last 4 years, it's been a huge seller's market. If there ever was a time that a seller would say, listen, I can do this myself, the last 4 years would have been that time because it really is a seller's market. But there's so many reasons why that's not a good idea. A seller can price a house based off of, let's say, off a Zestimate,
Yeah.
which have gotten better. But by the CEO's own admission, I don't know, 5 or 10 years ago, it could be off by 10%, which when you're talking about a $2 million house, it's a fairly substantial amount of money. But you can look at your Zestimate and say, I'm gonna list this myself. And based on his estimate, let's say that somebody's got a house that says $1 million. And he says, I'm gonna list it for $1 million. And somebody comes right in out of the chute and says, I'll give you full asking price. Or somebody says, I'll give you 50,000 over asking if you shut it down. And the seller says, awesome, done, fantastic. So the seller's thinking, I just got $1,050,000, and his estimate said it was $1 million. I saved 2.5% commission on, we'll call it $1 million. That's $25,000. So basically, I'm getting the equivalent of 107.5 because I didn't have to pay the listing side commission and the buyer just rang my doorbell. Let's just say the buyer came with an agent. So I saved 2.5%. The difference is you hire the Spelker real estate team. We get your house looking its best. We capture that in beautiful photography, drone photography, videos, and everything. But then what we do is we use Coldwell Banker to disseminate that to hundreds of portals, in addition to the Realtor.coms and all those other things. Then we have social media team that we use that exclusively markets our listings. Because what you're paying for, and this is what I didn't understand until I got into this business. I'm like, what are you paying a real estate agent for? Like, what do they do? Really and truly, what you're paying a real estate agent to do is to get people. This is so simple. You're paying them to get people through your front door. That's it. That's it. Before I went into this business, I was like, the Weichert is yellow, Coldwell Banker's blue, Keller Williams is red, Compass is black. They're all the same, right? They're all the same companies, really, more or less, or do the same thing. All the real estate agents are the same. Companies are actually different. Real estate agents within those companies are different. And sometimes there's a difference between how people handle their business. So I'm thinking, what's the difference? Until I got into this business. And then I realized you could have 10 agents to come in and give you a different price opinion on your house. 10 different, listen, this is what they do for a living. And 10 of them came in with 10 different price opinions. It doesn't matter what we think. It matters what the buyers think your house is worth.
Yep.
And what you're paying us for is to get people through the front door. Because other than COVID, if they didn't come through your front door and look at your house, they didn't buy it. And they'll never buy it. When do you hear about somebody, just sight unseen buys your house for $1 million? Doesn't happen. So what we do is get people through the front door. And we feel like we do that better than anybody because my wife is able to get the houses looking fantastic. And unbeknownst to me, I'm actually pretty good at marketing. So in conjunction with the social media people that we work with, we get these listings out there to so many different places and get people through the front door. And that ultimately is what's going to drive the price you get for your house. So this for sale by owner person could have gotten, say, $1,075,000. We come in with a multiple offer situation. We bring in 7 offers. It goes to a highest and best, and somebody goes, bing, 1.3. They would have left $225,000 on the table by saving money. They saved money by not using a real estate agent, but they didn't save a dime because we brought so many more people through the front door. We got them into a multiple offer situation. We let them battle it out, the buyers amongst themselves, and then got them a number that just blew the doors off of anything else. And if you think this is a made up story, this exact thing happened with the CEO of our company, our parent company, Anywhere, CEO of Sotheby's, Better
Okay.
Homes and Gardens, Coldwell Banker, all of them. It's the CEO of all of them. We sold a house for him in Morristown, and that exact same thing happened where somebody approached him to buy the house off market. And he said, no, I believe in the Coldwell Banker brand. I believe in the real estate agent's value. And he hired us, and we got him $350,000 over the offer that he was given with no real estate commission. So he did pay a real estate commission to the Spelker real estate team, but boy, did he come out net positive.
Oh,
That's a
100%. And not only,
sorry. Yeah.
yeah, 100%. He did the right thing. And not only that, I think people forget the inspection portion as well. I find
Mhm.
that is a very difficult portion for a for sale by owner. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they should or shouldn't be doing, how they should be responding. And if there's a buyer's agent on the other side, they know what they're doing and they know
Right.
what they can get away with, and they're going to push you to your limits. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of things that kind of can go awry in the for sale by owner world just by
Yeah,
trying
with
to take
inspections,
software.
you're spot on. One of the things in this area is, at least for a while, like chimneys were the big thing. So you'd get somebody come in there and they put a camera up the chimney and then they would send it off to some other company. And that company would just crank out an estimate. And this happens. And this is, again, this is how I feel like providing value is important. So they came up with an estimate of $10,000. It was a condo in Morris Township. And I was like, $10,000 seems like an awful lot. Part of my job, it's almost like you're an attorney. The prosecution makes their case and you're the defense and you have to go out and bring in your eyewitnesses. So I went out and got my eyewitness, who's happened to be one of the best chimney people in the area, very well known, very good reputation. So I bring him in and he says, yeah, there's some problems with this chimney. And I was like, okay, what's it going to take? He goes, you're looking at about $1,000. I was like, excuse me, $1,000. I said, and it's going to be good to go? Yeah. I said, okay, could you put that in writing? And we paid him for his time. The other estimate, as you recall, was $10,000. So I took the estimate, sent it off to the attorney, spoke to the other agent, and when I told the other agent who I brought in, they said, "How did you get him to come in? He's really hard to get a hold of." I said, "Yeah, he comes a lot of times for me. It's probably because I pay him in a timely manner when he does the work, but she goes, he's the guy that I've used for my house. So yeah, he's the best." So she calls her buyer and says, listen, that $10,000 is way out of court. This guy is the most reputable guy in the area. He wrote it up for $1,000. Problem solved. So if I don't get involved and I don't bring that estimate in, potentially my seller gives them a credit for $10,000, or
Yep.
potentially my seller says, we'll give you five. And I got it chopped down from 10 to 1 and feel like I provided some pretty decent value. That condo, our commission was going to be somewhere around 15,000, and I might have saved them 9 right there.
Oh yeah.
And that is really what gives me satisfaction in this job. Getting people a big number is awesome, but also being able to provide value in some way where they say, man, they did a great job for us.
Oh yeah.
And that really is what drives me.
Oh yeah. There's much more than just the number. It's the whole
Yeah.
process. There's a lot
I
that
don't
happens.
even think about the commission. I swear to you. I know I probably should, but and people probably think when they see a sign in the ground on $1 million house, they think 5%. Spelker's going to get 50 grand, and nothing could be further from the truth. But I don't even think about the commission. When we sign some paperwork, I'm immediately thinking about how am I going to market this house for these people? How am I going to get them a number that they're happy with? How am I going to get the most people through the front door? These are all the things that I think about. The check, when you finally get the commission thing, it's almost like oh look, that's good. Yeah, I can pay for my medical this month. But it's almost an afterthought. It really doesn't come into that my thought process at all. It's
No.
just this is the job, do a great job for the people, and I guess at some point down the road, we're going to get paid for this. That's
Oh,
really what it is. Oh,
absolutely.
silly.
Yep. And I
Yeah.
think that's always how I've been since I started, and it was almost 10 years ago. I have never looked at the commission portion. And you really shouldn't, because some listings don't sell. So
Yeah.
if you're banking on something, it might not
No.
come. But I do find, as I've trained some of these new agents, that is their sole focus. And I'm like, hey, we need to redirect that. We are not here to sell a home. We are, but if you're on the buyer side, you're here to find them their home that they're going to love forever and always remember you for selling them that home, not the home that you pushed them to buy because you were just looking
Right.
for a commission.
We
So,
have some buyers that we just put into a house. We were working with them. You ready for this? 3.5 years. So when we first met them, they had an infant, and by the time they bought, we wrote a lot of offers for them. They just didn't get the houses, but by the time they finally went into their house, which is about 3 months ago now, the infant was 4.5, I think, and he had a sister that was 2.5. So we were joking, listen, let's get you guys in a house before these kids are graduating high school. There's no question that these buyers will remember us for years to come because it was such a long process. And it really shows the level of commitment by both my wife and I, that despite losing multiple houses and there were periods of time where they would maybe go a little bit dormant because they got tired of looking or something, we stuck with them and they stuck with us for 3.5 years.
yeah,
Uh,
it's just
and that's
crazy,
just,
but that's good. That means you're a good agent, period.
yeah. Yeah. We build a connection with them, with the buyers as well. Especially my wife, one of the favorite things she loves about this job is she does like working with buyers, help them see the different things in a house, potential, what things will cost if you want to do stuff. But when they have infants, she is very happy to take that infant off their hands and let them explore the house
Oh,
because
absolutely. I
she just
agree. My kids
loves
are
it.
grown.
She just
Yep.
loves the little ones. Man.
Yep. It's definitely fun for us to be kind of part of that family until they're in their new home, that's for sure. But let's talk a little bit about the historian in you.
Are you still seeing me or is this off?
Nope, I can see you.
All right. I don't know what's going on my end. I can't see you, but as long as you can see and hear me, I guess we're good.
Okay.
About the historian end.
Yeah, let's talk about the historian in you. So you're not
Hmm.
just a realtor, you've been the town historian. Tell me a little bit of how that happened and, where that goes with buyers and sellers when you're the historian.
I am the town historian. I think that just means I'm old,
No.
but I had zero interest in the history of this town for most of my life, I says, until I guess I was in my 30s, I think. And I saw a map at a friend of mine's house from, I think, 1910. And it was a section of Madison where I grew up. And it was just really interesting to see that there really weren't that many houses back then. And there was like some farms and everything. So I was just fascinated by the fact that how different the town looked 100, at this point, it's probably like, I don't know, 90 years earlier. So that kind of kicked it off a little bit. And then I started reading some of the books that have been written about the history of the town and realized as time went on, it really is a special history here. It's not just, this building was built in 1904 by Joe Blow. It wasn't like that. It was Revolutionary War history. You had some of the richest people in the country in the late 1800s, early 1900s. It would be like Jeff Bezos and what's his name? Tesla, not Tesla, what's his name? Musk, Elon Musk.
Elon.
It'd be like some of the richest people in the United States lived between Madison, New Jersey, and Morristown. That's who was living here, some of the richest people in the country. And they were out here for just a couple months a year. It was like summer homes. So there was that aspect. There was the train coming through. There was just so much history in this town. And Mark Twain used to come out here to visit. There was just a lot of really interesting history. So I started getting into it. I was in the Historical Society for a while. I was on the board for a little while there. And then I don't know, maybe it's like 5, 6, 7 years ago. The mayor asked me if I wanted to be the town historian. Kind of everybody knew that a lot of people knew I was really into the history of the town. So I said, yeah, sure, I'll do it. And then last year, I created an app. It's called the Madison Magical History Tour. And that was based off of trolley tours that I used to do. So I would hire a trolley and we'd basically sell out every year within 12 hours. And we would do 2 tours, somebody would drive this trolley around town with 35 people in it. And I would just go off about the history of the town for about an hour and a half. And we did 2 tours. And then I'd donate the money to charity. So that trolley tour, I said, nobody wants to see this face if they don't have to. So let's do an app on the history of the town. And it allows me to hit more spots. I had pictures, then and now pictures. So that app was created. It took about a year to do. And that's already got, I think, just maybe somewhere around 500 or 600 people have already downloaded the app. And it's great for schools too. Sometimes teachers before holidays, they don't want to, there's not much going on. They can just put the app up and kids can learn about the history of their town. So how does that translate into real estate? My love for that, the history of the town, came before ever even thinking about going into real estate. I was in my mid 50s, mid to early, I guess early 50s when I went into real estate. And I, I just started incorporating in my mailers some of the old pictures of town. I remember I put something, I've sold a house, it's under contract for sale or whatever, but I always weaved in some old Madison history pictures. And I kept getting people coming to me, I love your mailers, I love your mailers. To see that our street from 1912 or something like that. I started to weave that in with my real estate. And then it occurred to me, like, I'm also tipping these people off that I am like a local expert because you really have to be seen as an expert in your field, I think, to get business. And that just goes from people see your sign and they see that you're doing quite a bit of business. They assume then that you must be an expert in your field. So one of the ways that I can say that I'm an expert in the field of Madison real estate is that I know the history of this town backwards and forwards. But in addition, I've lived here for 50 years. I bought and sold real estate since 1991. So what is that, 34 years? And I have a Wall Street financial background. So all of those things together, I think paints a picture of me as somebody with local market knowledge. But the history thing is just a fun thing for me. So when I do a newsletter that comes out probably every 2 months to the entire town of Madison, everything that's sold, there will always be a history article, history on the Madison in there. There'll be some then and now pictures. I always try to weave the history of the town in there because look, I think it makes it more history. They may not even be reading the stuff that I write about real estate, but they probably are reading the stuff about the history of the town. So it serves two purposes. I figured as long as I'm paying all this money for a mailer, I might as well get some Madison history out to people as well. And it has led to business. I've had people that have taken that trolley tour and have actually used me as their realtor because they met me there and they liked my approach. They liked my knowledge of the town and they hired me and it led to other business. So it actually did work out. It wasn't the reason why I started doing the trolley tour because I think I started doing it before I was even in real estate, but the history angle was never designed really to get real estate business. It just was something I melded them together and I'm like, I don't think this is going to bring me any business, but if it does, okay, that was it.
No, that's awesome. No, I love little backstories, and I could definitely see people driving towards an agent because of knowledge of that. Because some people might want a historical home or want to know knowledge of that street or want to live on that. So that's really unique. I do like that. That's great.
I think it appeals to buyers maybe more than sellers.
Oh, I agree.
Buyers are like, I'm coming from Hoboken, I'm coming from Jersey City, I'm coming from New York or Brooklyn. And I want somebody that really knows this town. And you can't know every town. You can't know every town intimately. But when it comes to this town, they're like, this guy knows this place frontwards and backwards. He used to he delivered papers to this neighborhood or he cut the lawns when he was a kid. He's seen so much in this town and it changes and he knows the streets and he knows the little nuances about the town. Forget the history, just knowing, oh, that corner is a very busy corner, or there didn't used to be a light there and they just put a light in there. Like just little things. I think buyers appreciate having somebody that really knows a town intimately. And there's not many of us. There really aren't.
Yeah, no, for sure. So when you're talking all these clients and things like that, and a lot of agents pay for referral services. Now I'm taking it, you've never done that, or have you?
Back in the day, I did pay Zillow. We're talking about 10 years ago when I first was starting out. I did pay Zillow for some buyer leads because back then buyers were gold. There was plenty of on the market and you just were trying to find buyers. And as somebody just starting out, you needed to build a base. So in the very, very early part of my career, it was before even Amy joined up with me or Bob and Jody were on our team. It was just me. And I was thinking maybe I need to do this. And so I did for maybe a year or two, did some Zillow leads. And, but then once we started doing business, we realized this business is going to come not because of leads. It's going to come because of referrals. It's going to come because people have been told that you're good at what you do and you can be trusted. So we haven't paid for a buyer lead or a seller lead. And I don't know, it's got to be 8 years, 9 years, something
Yeah.
like that.
That's a test of who you guys are and what you have built, that's for sure. I know you have a motto, 1+1=2.5. Can you explain that a little bit?
Maybe that's why I'm no longer on Wall Street. I couldn't add. Yeah, it just came to me because I believe it. It's true. I know it intuitively doesn't make sense. You put one person with one person and you got two people. But every once in a while, you get a combination of people whose skill sets are so dramatically different that I think it really does add up to more than that. I would say my wife is probably the complete picture. So she's probably one and a half, and I'm the one. So that's probably a fair way to put it. But it's just really hard to find a team that are so complementary in terms of what they bring to the table. She doesn't have I had to negotiate bonuses for Wall Street traders. That was a disaster. Trying to make sure that they got paid without quitting on you and dealing in tough negotiations with management. So that helped me in this business. Having some street smarts helped me in this business. Completely different set of skills and the marketing, which I didn't know I had any kind of knack for, but it turns out that I'm actually not bad at marketing. So those are all things that I focus on. And Amy does all the other stuff that's as important and sometimes more important. And she does those really well. But she brings quite a bit to the table. And I really do believe that when you hire us, and people have told us that, it's not like I'm just making this up, but people have told us that we are a very complementary team in terms of what we bring to the table. And they really do feel like they're not just getting, usually you hire an agent, you get the one agent, or maybe you get their whole team or something like that. But with us, we're both very heavily involved in every transaction. And it's just seamless how things get passed off and who takes what responsibility. It's not like we write it down and say, listen, you're going to do this, I'm going to do that. In the beginning, I did say to Amy, because I really wanted her to come into this business with me, and she really liked doing interior design. But I said, I'll tell you what, anything that you don't want to do, anything you don't like to do, I will do it just to keep you here and make sure that you stick with this. And as time has gone on, just taking our different roles and what we prefer to do. And listen, there's nothing better for any job. If you've got a team, you want people doing the jobs or the part of the job. This is a lot of different hats we wear. You want them doing the things that they like to do, that they enjoy, or that they're good at. And if they're good at it, they're going to be appreciated. When you're appreciated, you like what you do, when you're happy with your job. So it really is important, I think, for people, anybody that has a team, to make sure, try to find out what people really like to do, what they're good at. Because if you're good at it, they're going to be happy. And that's what we've distilled it down to. We do what we like to do, and we're good at what we do. And that's why we're both pretty happy with the job that we do.
Yeah, no, that's a great story. And I just love how much you love your wife. You can tell you guys are a great couple, and there's a reason why you've been together for 44 years because you're
There's a
so,
lot of fighting in there too. Let me tell you.
oh, I know.
We
No,
battle for, oh yeah, that because sometimes people say, "Oh, you guys are so great together." I said, "We fight all the time, not fight, bicker, and
bigger.
argue like that." Because Amy is extremely, she's just not happy unless she's crossing something off a list that day that she's accomplished. So she's got these lists, and meanwhile, I have it all up in here or on my phone, and just a different way of doing things. Sometimes she'll say, "Hey, you can't forget that you have to do this," and I'm like, "I already did it." And she's like, "Oh, and don't forget about, you have to do that." Already done. As far as work though, we really get along very well on the work side. I think it's the outside of work that we probably bicker more than anything. But 44 years
Okay.
is a long time, and I definitely had reservations, as did she, about working together for fear of blowing up. At that point, probably in a 30-something year marriage, and there was definitely, we went in with our eyes wide open on that and trying to look out for landmines. But I think her biggest fear was she was going to have to be like sitting next to me in a cubicle in an office every day. And that was probably the worst thing, worst probably thought that she could have had for working together. But what it ends up, I end up working a lot in the morning, and I go into the office and she goes to her workout class and does her routine. And then a lot of times in the afternoon, I might go to the gym and she's doing something else. And then we throughout the day are texting each other or phone calls to each other about different transactions we're working on. So sometimes we don't even see each other for the better part of the day. And then our poor 21-year-old, before he went off to college, he would have to be at the dinner table. So it was just the three of us. And all that kid was hearing about was real estate. And he was like, "Can we please talk about something else at this table besides real estate?" But it does give us something to talk about. Now that we're empty nesters, it does give us something to talk about. And my wife's mom has been in real estate for, I want to say it's either 40 or 45 years. The woman's going to be 90 in January.
Nice.
And she still goes on the computer every day and talks to some of her former clients and gets listings. And she gives the listings to Amy's brother, who also has a real estate license. So it's been in the family for a long period of time, real estate. And it also gives my wife something to talk about with her mom. We talk stories about clients and different deals that we've had. And it gives her something to talk about with her brother. So in that sense, it's also been good that I know she used to like to and love to do interior design, but being in real estate now, I think connects us more as a couple. And I think it does connect her a lot more with both her mother and her brother. So there's ancillary benefits to me
Awesome.
dragging her into this business.
Yeah, that's wonderful. It's cool. I sure hope one of my kids would be an agent, but it's not happening, I don't think. But we'll see. There's time.
Listen, there's a lot of jobs too with parents, man. Parents that say, I know attorneys, and they're like, "Oh, I wouldn't want my kid to be an attorney." I have doctor friends that say, I'd never tell my kid to go into medicine. I would say, I would never tell my kid to go to Wall Street to become a trader. This is a job that I can actually honestly say that I wouldn't have a problem if my kids went into it. It does, your earnings can certainly fluctuate. There's no guarantee. You have no medical benefits. We're independent contractors. So that part can be a little bit scary. But it really is, if you like to have kind of some freedom where you're not tied to a desk all day, which I was for 25 years, and you have the ability in your personality to want to learn things and want to help people and coach them up. If you have that kind of personality, you'll be fantastic in real estate. And I can actually say, but this is something I would still recommend my kids would do it. I really would.
Yeah. No, that's great. Scott, thank you so much for sharing your story and insights today. From blending the history to real estate to building the model of who you and your wife are as your valuable team. We just so appreciate you being on here today. I know I'm going to have all
For
your
having me.
handles below so everybody can follow you. And I wish you the best, and I hope to talk to you soon.
I love that. Thank you very much.
That's it for this episode of the Inner Circle podcast. I hope you've enjoyed the conversation and took away some valuable insights to help you along your real estate journey. If you found today's episode helpful, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so drop me a comment below with your biggest takeaway or any questions you might have. And if you know someone who would benefit from this conversation, share this episode with them. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time on the Inner Circle.